Hello, everyone. My name is Brianna Sheppard. I'm with the World Wildlife Fund, and I'm a Senior Program Officer on our Plastic and Materials Science team. And I work to support the US Plastics Pact and have been doing so since it launched in August 2020. And some of you might recall that last year, around this time, I gave you a presentation on our work to date and how some folks in the Pet Sustainability Coalition have been working to support our goals. So now I'm back a year later to provide an update on what we've been up to for the first year within the US Plastics Pact. So thank you very much for having me. For those who didn't hear the presentation last year, I'm going to give just a bit of an overview of what the US Pact is and what we're trying to achieve. So first, I'll start by saying that the US Plastics Pact is part of a larger network of pacts managed by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. You can see a map here of all of the national plastics pacts. So of course, we are the one that's focused on the United States, but this is really just to say that there is an international effort to launch and really support these plastic pacts at a country level to make sure that we're enacting that national change that's needed. And the reason that we've done this is that the plastic waste challenge is really too big and too important to address alone. And I know I'm not saying anything new here from what all of you already know, but really we believe that in the US and globally, we all need to come together. Everyone needs to have a seat at the table so that we can work together to really transform the plastic packaging industry from one of waste to one of innovation. We believe that everyone has a role in the US Plastics Pact. And so we have a number of different stakeholders in our pact, and we have more activators, as we call them, joining every day. So for example, we have businesses, nonprofit organizations, government agencies, and academic and research institutions as a sort of our four main categories. And then you can see at the image on the right that we have a number of other important entities. So we really are trying to bring everyone to the table here to help solve this plastic waste crisis. What sets the US Pact apart is that we really have everyone, all 100 plus activators, working together toward the same four goals. And I'll talk a little bit about what those goals are in a minute. We also have action-oriented work streams made up of pact volunteers who bring their own technical expertise and years of knowledge to really leverage a path forward toward our four targets by 2025. We're also working to measure and report progress annually as a collective to ensure accountability. The US Pact is not in the business of calling out individual organizations for meeting or failing to meet goals. We believe that we either rise together or we fall together. And that's why we have representation across the entire value chain, making sure that we have those at the table from cradle to grave, from start to finish, across the plastics value chain. And we're still recruiting new members to the US Plastics Pact. We believe that getting new members and having those opportunities allow groups to really demonstrate that dynamic leadership and align actions, make sure that we're not duplicating efforts and that we're all working toward the same goals, in this case by 2025. And really also so that groups get access to expert advice on sustainable plastic strategy and really are part of that research and innovation that we're trying to do. And so I want to start by refreshing everyone on the four US Plastics Pact targets. And we have set all of these goals to be met by 2025, which we understand is ambitious, but we also believe that the plastic waste crisis is really too big to really wait to enact change on. So by setting these high-level ambitions, we're really setting the bar around our collective and what we can do together. So I'll talk through each of these targets a little bit, and then we'll talk a little bit about what we've done in the past year to meet them. So the first, and the one that we're most excited about, because the list was just released last week, is that we've worked together to define a list of packaging that's problematic or unnecessary and take measures to eliminate them by 2025 as a collective. Our second target is that 100% of plastic packaging will be reusable, recyclable, or compostable by 2025. Our third target is that as a collective, we're going to undertake ambitious actions to effectively recycle or compost 50% of plastic packaging by 2025. And finally, our fourth target is that we're going to achieve an average of a 30% recycled content or responsibly sourced bio-based content in plastic packaging by 2025. So we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like and what the moves we're making are now to support that. First, I do want to spend just a minute talking about our current activators. So we have over 100 members in the US Plastics Pact right now, and you'll see a lot of really well-known brands and companies and organizations in the US. We're really excited about all of these different groups coming together in a really pre-competitive way to help support these goals. And we're still accepting new members as well and new organizations because we believe we really need everyone at the table. I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide. For our activators, I'll just say that we are really, when we speak with folks about joining the US Pact, we really like to emphasize that we have a strong level of expectation around how activators will help to support our goals. We have been thrilled to have a lot of really important experts in the field join the Pact and help us to develop accountability and incorporate Pact targets into their own missions and company goals and really contribute those knowledge and insights. So we're really happy to have all of those groups on board. I'm going to skip over our engagement principles. This is just to say that we do have some internal governance around collaboration and confidentiality and making sure that we create a really safe and open space to collaborate on a number of important issues. Here are our current US Pact work streams. So we have a number of groups that are working on plastic waste issues across the US. I'm just going to highlight a few. We have a work stream on reuse pilots and innovation, one working on policy in the US, one looking at composting, another working on design for recyclability, another on unpacked labeling. So we have a number of different groups that are really working to advise on a number of important topics within the value chain and in the US, and more are coming forward. So we've gotten a lot of questions around reporting and how we are going to make so many different groups from so many different backgrounds report in a way that's consistent and transparent and really measurable year over year so that we can understand as a collective how we're moving that needle on plastic waste and how we're working toward our goals or not. So to that end, all activators are required to report their progress annually to the US Pact using World Wildlife Fund's Resource Footprint Tracker tool. And so that's a web tool that the World Wildlife Fund developed to allow individual organizations to input data, which we then calculate against all 4 targets and collectively report publicly as an aggregate and as part of an annual report that the US Pact will put out. And our first report is coming out in March of this year. And so I want to speak a little bit too about the US Plastics Pact Roadmap to 2025, which came out very recently. And this is really the blueprint or the framework that we put together to show how we're going to deliver against all 4 of our targets by 2025. And I really encourage everyone to go online and check out this roadmap. I think it's really great. It breaks down each of the 4 targets with sub-goals and objectives and really maps out how year over year we're going to be moving those forward. That way we don't just say, okay, we're going to do all these things in by 2025, and then, never check in again or have any sense of kind of how we're going to get there. So this was a really important document that we spent a lot of time putting together, and we're really excited to be tracking well on it so far. And just a couple more highlights on some of the things that we've been doing in our first year. So since I last spoke with all of you at UnPacked 2021, we've gone from 62 activators to over 100. We've defined the scope of the pact. So what areas of plastic waste we'll be working in within the US. We've formed relationships with other pacts, especially the new Canada Plastics Pact, which was launched in late 2021, and we think will make a really strong alignment program across North America. We published our roadmap to 2025. We created 11 work streams, some of which I spoke about earlier. And then we published our problematic and unnecessary materials list and criteria, which I'll speak more about in the coming slides. So while this is not everything, these are some of the achievements that we're most proud of, and we think that we have really set a good course to meeting our goals by 2025. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time going into a deeper dive on our problematic and unnecessary materials list, which was released last week. I guess it will have been 2 weeks by the time, or no, or like a month by the time that this presentation is aired. So this was really an important endeavor within the pact. We spent a lot of time developing it within the problematic and unnecessary materials work stream and really getting that feedback and buy-in from all of the different activators in the pact, making sure we had consensus around what materials should be included in this list so that we can begin to collectively work toward eliminating them by 2025. And so this is a bit of a busy slide. I'm not going to walk through all of it, but this is the decision tree that was developed to help establish the criteria for how we define a problematic or unnecessary material. And we have now 11 materials that were listed to be eliminated by 2025. They're here in alphabetical order. I won't read through all of them, but I do just want to say that we're really excited to have this list out as an important first step in meeting our 2025 goals. And by making this list public, we are really putting out the call for all organizations and companies in the US and beyond to begin thinking about how we will eliminate these materials and why that is so important to address plastic waste. So we're really excited to have this out. We have more information on our website if anyone would like to go take a deeper dive into more of the technical aspects of how we decided this list and what specifically we'll be doing with it going forward. For anyone interested, I am including just a very brief slide on our membership fees. So for-profit activators do pay a fee to participate in the pact on an annual basis. And that you can see that's really based on business size. But there is no fee for nonprofit organizations or government agencies or universities. We also have a special DEI funding scheme that was generously supported by a grant from Target to make BIPOC businesses being able to join the pact more accessible, because we think that diversity and equity and inclusion are also critical aspects to any environmental platform. And so if you are interested in this, you or your organization, I really encourage you to reach out and learn more. And yeah, that's all I've prepared. So I will just say here that we are still, as I said, we are still actively looking for additional members to help support our work. We really think we need everyone at the table. And if you're interested, I hope you will reach out to us by email or over our website. So thank you all very much for your time today, and I'm looking forward to discussing more with you.